Hello, and welcome to Japan Lyric Room. In this program, we explore the lyrics of Japanese songs, delivering clear explanations of their meanings and unique cultural backgrounds.
It's really great to be here with you today.
Please note that while the voices and illustrations in this video are AI generated, the project itself is run by two Japanese creators living in Japan. The script is carefully researched and written by us to provide original explanations.
And today, we are exploring a track that has completely defied the boundaries of time, really.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I want you, the listener, to just picture this for a second. Imagine thousands of teenagers packed into this pulsating, sweaty club in Los Angeles.
Right.
And they are screaming the Japanese lyrics to a pop song that came out over 40 years before they were even born.
It's wild. It's just undeniable power.
Exactly. That's the sheer power of today's subject. We are exploring the lyrics of the sensational 1981 debut by Yasuha called Fly Chinatown.
Or Friday Chinatown, as some might know it, but yeah.
Yeah.
It is nothing short of a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And, to give you some context on the pedigree of this song, it was actually composed by Yasuha herself.
Oh, she wrote the music.
Yeah. And she also provided those iconic, piercingly clear high-tone vocals that everyone knows, but she definitely didn't do it alone.
Right, she had some heavy hitters backing her up.
Oh, absolute titans of the Japanese music industry.
Yeah.
The lyrics were penned by the legendary Toehisa Araki. He's a lyricist who fundamentally shaped the whole Japanese pop landscape.
Wow.
And then it was all arranged by the genius Akira Inoue. Together, they forged this incredibly sophisticated urban arrangement.
It basically defines what we now globally recognize as city pop.
Exactly.
So our mission today is exploring the lyrics, right? We want to decode the deep cultural meaning and all the incredibly clever wordplay that makes this 1980s anthem resonate so profoundly today.
Right, because there's so much going on beneath the surface.
But before we actually get into the words themselves, we really need to understand the mechanism behind why this track is literally everywhere right now.
Yeah, we do.
Because its resurgence isn't just, a random fluke of the algorithm. It is a fascinating cultural story.
It really is a miraculous global resurgence. I mean, the modern city pop revival has been simmering for a while now.
Right, mostly driven by internet algorithms recommending vintage Japanese tracks to people on YouTube and stuff.
Exactly. But Fly Chinatown exploded through a very specific, almost cinematic, real-world event.
Oh, the LA club scene.
Yes. So November 2021, the Korean producer and DJ known as Night Tempo, who, by the way, has been super instrumental in the whole city pop revival.
Yeah.
He played a remix of this exact song during a set in Los Angeles.
Right in the heart of LA. I mean, a city that is completely removed from 1980s Tokyo.
Totally removed. And the reaction was entirely unprecedented. You had 2,000 local youths in that venue, and they didn't just dance to the beat.
Right.
They were singing the original Japanese lyrics at the top of their lungs.
That is just insane to me.
I know. And someone captured a video of this massive unified crowd singing an obscure 1981 Japanese track, posted it to social media, and it sparked an absolute viral firestorm.
It just blew up overnight.
Yeah, it cemented the song's place immediately as a cornerstone of the modern city pop boom.
But, what's really wild is that the LA club scene is only half the story.
Right, there's the other part.
Yeah, there is another completely unexpected route that helped this song explode, and it has to do with an incredibly passionate modern fandom.
The anime connection.
Yes! I'm talking about the massive TikTok meme.
This is one of those wonderfully unpredictable internet phenomenons, Users were just playing around with audio editing software, and they discovered something fascinating.
It's so weird how this happens.
It really is. If you take Yasuha's original soaring vocal track and simply lower the pitch, her voice undergoes this bizarre transformation.
Yeah.
It ends up sounding astonishingly similar to the character Killua Zoldyck from the anime Hunter x Hunter.
I mean, if you think about how massive that anime is, this is just mind-blowing.
It's a huge fandom.
Right. You have millions of deeply dedicated young anime fans, and by a complete coincidence of audio engineering, just a simple analog pitch shift, you create an invisible bridge.
A bridge straight to 1981.
Exactly. The fans started using this altered audio for their videos, and eventually they traced the sound back to the source.
Which is just so cool.
It's like finding a secret door in your modern digital world that teleports you directly into an authentic, neon-lit 1980s Japanese street.
I love that analogy.
That audio illusion introduced a pure, unadulterated unadulterated city pop track to a demographic that might never have sought it out otherwise.
It is a beautiful collision of eras, really.
Yeah.
You know, we have the analog brilliance of the 80s meeting the digital remix culture of the 2020s.
Totally.
And now that we understand exactly how it reached everyone, we need to look at the lyrics themselves.
Yes, let's get into the actual song.
Because the song isn't just a catchy melody, you know. It tells a brilliantly constructed story of an evening out. And it sets the scene immediately with the iconic title that those 2,000 kids in LA were singing.
So let's step right into that neon lit street. The song kicks off with the very first phrase. She sings, it's so fly day Chinatown.
Right.
And to fully grasp what she's singing about, for you listening, here is the exact cultural nuance that translates to a perfect weekend where your heart takes fly on a Friday. An overwhelming sense of liberation experienced in an exotic city.
That opening is so crucial. It establishes the entire emotional baseline of the song through a very specific cultural lens.
The idea of Friday being special.
Exactly. To understand why Friday feels like liberation, you have to understand the Japanese concept of Hanakin.
Hanakin, which literally translates to Golden Friday, right?
Yes, Golden Friday. So during the intense corporate work culture of Japan in the 1980s, this is the lead up to the famous bubble economy. Salarymen and office ladies worked incredibly grueling hours.
I mean, notoriously long hours.
Very long. The corporate structure was rigid, formal, and deeply demanding. So when Friday night finally arrived, it wasn't just the start of a couple of days off.
It was bigger than that.
Way bigger. It was a visceral, physical release. Hanakin was the euphoric, universally shared feeling of shedding your corporate skin and reclaiming your individuality in the glow of the city nightlife.
And that brings us to the absolute brilliance of the wordplay here. The lyricist, Toyohisa Araki, takes the English word Friday and intentionally swaps the R for an L to make it fly day.
It is a highly deliberate and deeply clever phonetic play.
Because of the pronunciation, right?
Yeah, Japanese speakers often conflate the R and L sounds when pronouncing English loanwords. Araki leans into this linguistic quirk to create a powerful double meaning.
Oh, wow.
By making it Fly Day, the song captures the absolute physical liberation of Hanakin.
It is such a vivid image. For you listening, think of it like the Western concept of TGI, thank God it's Friday.
Sure, yeah.
But TGIF is just a passive statement of relief, you know, like, whew, it's over. But Fly Day is an active state of being.
That's a great point.
It perfectly captures that feeling where you clock out of work, step onto the pavement, and you feel so incredibly light that you could literally float away from your weekday responsibilities. You are flying above the city.
You're untouchable.
Exactly. No wonder this hook transcends language barriers. It's bottling a universal human emotion.
It creates an overwhelming sense of omnipotence. The weekend is yours, the city is yours, and anything can happen.
Yes.
So, carrying that euphoric energy, we move into the actual narrative of the song. We are following a couple on a date, right?
Walking through Chinatown.
Yeah, walking through the bustling, exotic, and slightly chaotic streets of a Chinatown, perhaps Yokohama or Kobe, on this golden night.
And the atmosphere on the street immediately shifts the dynamic between them. Listen to what happens in the crowd as they walk. This is phrase 2. The lyrics go, which beautifully sets this scene, translating exactly to, a foreigner who bumps into my shoulder in the crowd throws me a wink.
The crucial, fascinating detail here is the pronunciation of the word for foreigner.
Yeah, because it's usually different, right?
Exactly. The standard, everyday Japanese word is gaijin. But the lyric sheet specifically dictates that this must be read as Jingai.
Jingai, which is such an interesting choice. Why intentionally mess with the syllables like that?
It is a linguistic artifact of the era. It's called Zuja slang.
Zuja slang?
Yeah. Zuja is simply the word jazz reversed. Going back to the post-war era and peaking in the early 1980s, jazz musicians, nightclub workers, and music industry insiders in Japan would reverse the syllables of everyday words.
Oh, like a secret code.
Exactly like a secret code. They wanted a way to speak freely around tourists and regular patrons. So gaijin becomes Jingai. Sushi becomes shisu.
That is amazing. It's almost like a hyper-stylish version of Pig Latin.
Yeah, basically.
It's industry jargon used specifically by people who want to signal that they are urbane, street smart, and a little bit rebellious.
Very rebellious for the time.
So by deliberately dropping the word Jingai into a pop lyric, the songwriter is instantly communicating to the listener, we are not tourists, we are insiders, we know the underground pulse of this city.
Exactly. It paints the couple as sophisticated adults navigating a cosmopolitan space. And in this chaotic, fast-paced environment, a stranger bumps into the woman and throws her a flirtatious wink.
Which directly triggers a deeply relatable psychological moment in the very next line, phrase 3.
Let's hear it.
She sings. And if we unpack that, the exact cultural nuance means, even though I'm being hit on by another man you pretend not to notice, I feel bewildered by your lack of reaction.
So, the Japanese phrase used here is shirankao, which literally translates to feigning ignorance.
He's playing dumb.
Right. He sees the wink. He knows perfectly well that another man in this exotic crowd is hitting on his date. But he chooses to maintain a completely blank, unbothered expression.
Okay, I have to push back on this, or at least pose a question to you and the listener.
Yeah.
Is the boyfriend actually indifferent? Or is this just the classic male ego playing it cool to hide his jealousy?
Oh, that is the exact tension the song relies on.
Right, because no way he doesn't care.
Exactly. Given the era, there was an immense pressure on men to appear suave, unshakable, and completely in control, especially in an upscale nightlife setting.
It's all about image.
It is. If he reacts with anger or jealousy, he breaks the cool, sophisticated city pop illusion.
Yeah.
So he is almost certainly sweating internally, but he wears the shirankao like a shield.
But for the woman singing the song, his emotional shield creates a real problem.
It really does.
She is on this intoxicating Friday night date. The energy of the city is electric. A stranger validates her attractiveness, but the man she actually wants is giving her absolutely nothing.
He's the butt wall.
Yeah. It creates this hidden, relatable anxiety, a sort of slight fever of love where she is left wondering, does he even care?
And that anxiety forces the narrative forward, because the man's shirankao creates a stalemate.
Right.
The woman realizes that if this night is going to escalate beyond a simple stroll through Chinatown, she cannot wait for him to make the move. She has to take the lead.
Which launches us perfectly into the next phase of the evening. She decides to break the stalemate with phrase 4.
What does she say?
Which carries the specific cultural nuance. Even if I'm exhausted from dancing, I'm not going home yet. I want to stay with you until morning.
Now, if we look at this literally,
Yeah.
it might seem like she is just declaring her physical stamina, like, I have so much energy.
Right, I can keep dancing.
Yeah, but in the context of an adult romance, you have to read between the lines. It is a highly proactive, remarkably direct invitation.
Oh, totally.
She is signaling a clear, undeniable shift in the boundaries of the date.
She is basically looking at him and saying, look, my feet hurt from dancing, but romantically, I am just getting started. I am not getting on the last train home.
Precisely. She is actively rejecting the conclusion of the evening. And as they accept this new trajectory, they step out of the chaos of the street and sit down together.
Which leads to phrase 5.
Yeah, which leads to one of the most beautiful and evocative metaphors in the entire city pop genre.
The atmosphere completely shifts with this line, translating exactly to a gentle kiss upon the lips that drink jasmine tea, sensing an exotic fragrance.
This is where Toyohisa Araki's lyrical genius truly shines.
It's so poetic.
It really is. He pairs a completely ordinary, everyday symbol of Chinatown, a simple cup of jasmine tea, with the word kuchizuke.
And kuchizuki means kiss, right?
Yes, but kuchizuke is an incredibly poetic, deeply romantic word for a kiss, carrying far more weight than just a casual peck.
It is such a brilliant sensory metaphor. For you listening, think about the choreography of a date.
Right.
Grabbing a cup of tea is routine, it's mundane, but through the cinematic lens of this song, that mundane act becomes deeply sensual.
It elevates it entirely.
The lingering, exotic scent of the hot jasmine in the air, the delicate touch of the porcelain cup to her lips, and transferring that entire imagery to the anticipation of a kiss. It reflects the absolute magic of the city at night.
When you are in that fly day state of mind, everything is heightened.
Yes, every little detail feels important.
It is the alchemy of a perfect lyric. It elevates the real world into something magical. And it perfectly sets the stage for the climax of the night.
The climax, right? Because they aren't just drinking tea all night.
No, the couple is no longer just walking and observing. They are actively negotiating their desires. And the woman decides to test exactly how deep her partner's investment goes.
Which brings us to phrase 6. The night has reached its peak, and they are staring outside a storefront. And the exact cultural nuance reads, "Seeing me want a silk dress in the shop window, you look displeased. Perhaps at the price. But right now, I just want you to indulge my selfishness."
So we have transitioned from the romantic, tea-scented metaphor to a very grounded, intensely realistic moment.
Back to reality.
Very much so. The phrase shibuikao means a troubled, sour, or bitter face. They are looking in a shop window, at a luxurious silk dress. She indicates she wants it.
And he's probably doing the math in his head.
Exactly. He is immediately looking at his wallet, doing the mental math, and his face completely betrays his stress.
Okay, but wait. Is this just pure 1980s materialism? We know Japan was heading into this massive economic bubble where cash was flowing and luxury goods were everywhere.
Sure.
So is she just caught up in the consumerism of the era, like demanding expensive gifts?
Well, the bubble economy certainly makes the scenario plausible. Buying a silk dress on a late-night whim wasn't unheard of during the peak of Hanakin culture.
People had money to spend.
Right. However, emotionally, her wagamama, her selfishness, is a calculated romantic tool. It is a test.
A test of his affection.
Exactly. Earlier, he used his shirankao, his cool, unbothered face, to hide his jealousy when she was winked at. He kept his emotional distance.
Oh, I see.
So by demanding this expensive dress, she was pushing against his boundaries. She wants to see how far he is willing to go to indulge her.
Will he drop the cool exterior?
Yes. Will he sacrifice his wallet and his comfort to prove that he is deeply invested in making her happy?
It is a total power play. She is forcing him to show his hand.
She really is.
And we actually get the answer to whether or not she passed that test and whether he stepped up in the final breathtaking line of the song, Grey 7.
The resolution.
Yes. The exact nuance for this is, under the moonlight, the sound of silk dresses rustling against each other can be heard. It is the beginning of a quiet, passionate time for just the two of us.
The Japanese word used here is Kinuzure. It is a uniquely beautiful, highly specific word that translates to the sound of rustling silk rubbing together.
It's so evocative.
It is. The implication is delivered with such elegant, poetic restraint. She did get the dress, and she's changed into it.
The auditory contrast here is just staggering. I really want you to picture this journey.
Yeah, think about where we started.
Exactly. The song started on a loud, bustling street, people bumping shoulders, foreigners winking in the chaotic neon lights, the booming bass of the city on a Friday night.
The noise of Chinatown.
And then the song ends here in this incredibly quiet, intimate, moonlit room where the only sound in the entire world is the soft, whispering friction of rustling silk.
It's incredible.
It is a masterclass in cinematic songwriting. It fades to black perfectly.
It is the quintessential 80s city pop conclusion. It is highly sensual, deeply mature, and flawlessly executed without ever being crass.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. And, if we pull back and look at the emotional summary of Fly Chinatown, we can see that it's far more than just a viral beat to dance to. It is a literal time machine.
A time machine compressed into 3.5 minutes of audio.
Exactly. It condenses the dazzling, limitless, almost invincible energy of 1980s Japan. It perfectly captures the sophisticated playfulness of adult romance, the secret Zuja slang, the testing of emotional boundaries, the scent of jasmine, the expensive silk.
All wrapped up in one track.
Right. And I want to leave you with a thought to mull over long after this program ends. Think about the sheer resilience of a perfectly crafted pop song.
Yeah, the staying power.
We are sitting here today analyzing these words. But that music, that specific arrangement of bass lines, horns, and high-toned vocals acted as a vessel.
You really did.
It carried the magic of a shining, euphoric Friday night across 4 decades, across vast oceans, and across complex language barriers, straight into the smartphones and hearts of teenagers in Los Angeles today.
It's just amazing.
It proves that the feeling of liberation, the magic of the night, is entirely universal.
Thank you so much for listening. We feature various Japanese songs and provide detailed explanations on our website. Please check the link in the description to explore more. If you enjoyed this program, please subscribe to our channel and let us know your thoughts or song requests in the comments. See you next time. This was Japan Lyric Room.